Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at this $300 i3 powered Lenovo laptop. Now these have been available from Walmart for about a month and a half now for $299. This is the Lenovo Ideapad 3. It's a 15-inch laptop with a 10th gen i3 CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gigabyte SSD. After tax, it comes out to about $319, and this is totally worth it if you can pick it up for this price. But I've recently seen on Slick Deals that some people are actually able to pick this up in store for $199. My local stores don't have them for this, but you can do some searching. So yeah, this is a great little laptop for the price. It's not a high-end gaming machine, but that's not keeping us from doing some gaming on this. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the specs, the build quality, and then we're going to get right into some testing. So yeah, this is it, the Lenovo Ideapad 3. We have a 15.6-inch HD display, and they say HD with anti-glare, but it's really 1366 by 768. Not bad for the price though, I'm not complaining here. The keyboard on this thing actually surprised me. It works very well, and we also have that numerical pad. It's got a decent trackpad on it, and it does look a lot smaller here because this is a 15.6-inch laptop, but this is one of those oversized trackpads, and it works very well. Over on the left-hand side, we have a power input, full-size HDMI, a single USB 2.0 port, and two USB 3.0 ports. Moving over to the right-hand side, we have a full-size SD card reader and a 3.5mm audio jack. You might have noticed there's no Ethernet on here. You could always use a USB 2.0 or a 3.0 adapter if you want to, but it does have AC Wi-Fi built in. And for everybody on those Zoom meetings nowadays, it does have a webcam. It's a 0.3 megapixel, so it's not the greatest, but we do have that privacy switch here that Lenovo's added to a lot of their newer laptops. So before we get right down to the specs, I did want to take the bottom off of here and just see if there's any upgradability. A lot of these newer laptops have none whatsoever, but it looks like we can do a few things to this, like upgrading the RAM and the storage. There's also a 2.5-inch hard drive bay, but there's no adapter, and I'm not sure if you could buy one of those separately. I personally haven't seen anything online, but you might be able to find something on eBay. It also has this replaceable smaller M.2 SSD, and there is a bracket here, so we can go with a larger 80mm. It does have a replaceable Intel Bluetooth Wi-Fi chip. And finally, the RAM. We have a single DIMM in here, and this should be a 4 gig stick. We also have 4 gigs soldered to the board, so we could upgrade this to a total of 12 gigs. So there are user replaceable parts in here, and we can do a little bit of upgrading. Not by much, but it's still nice to see that they're still keeping with this. So for the price, it's actually looking pretty decent so far. And for the CPU, we have that Intel Core i3. This is a 10th gen G1 CPU at 1.2 GHz with a boost up to 3.4. 8 gigabytes of DDR4 at 2666 MHz, 256 gigabyte M.2 SSD, 802.11 dual band AC Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 5.0, 15.6-inch display at 1366 by 768, and the unit is actually running Windows 10 and S mode out of the box, but you can easily upgrade to Home from the Windows Store for free, and that's what I've done with this one. Alright, so here we are. I've just plugged into my game capture so we could get a better look at this screen. Like I mentioned, this comes with Windows 10 and S mode, but I've just gone to the Microsoft Store and upgraded to Home. It's a free process, easy to do. We have that 10th gen i3 at 1.2 GHz, 2 cores, 4 threads with a burst up to 3.4, 8 gigs of DDR4 at 2666, and the built-in UHD graphics. I'm not exactly sure what they're really calling this version of the graphics. All I've seen online is UHD. So as you can see, I've installed a bunch of stuff to test here, but the first thing I did was just run a couple quick benchmarks. First up, we have a storage benchmark. This is Crystal Disk. This is testing the built-in 256 gigabyte SSD that comes in this laptop, and I'm pretty impressed with the performance here. A lot better than I've seen in other cheaper laptops, as you can see here. The next thing I did was run a quick Geekbench 5 here. Single core 1106, multi 2380. Multi-core is definitely on the lower side because we only have 2 cores and 4 threads here. And if you take a look at newer laptops with a higher core count or even desktops, you'll see a much higher score here. But the single core score here actually impressed me given that we're running this i3 with a base clock of 1.2 and a boost up to 3.4. Really not bad, and keep in mind we're working with a $300 laptop here. Web browsing is super smooth on this unit. I've had no issues whatsoever. Everything that I've wanted to do and go to loads up really quickly. We can scroll through everything. We'll just head over to one more site here. So you're not going to have any issues web browsing on a laptop like this. I also wanted to run a quick test on WebGL performance. This is just WebGL samples. You can test this on your own PC. We're at 100 fish now, 60 FPS. Move up to 500, still looking great. 1000, 60. We'll go to 5000, and that's when it starts to struggle a bit. And the performance with this will differ between browsers, but I found that the Edge browser actually performs much better on these lower end chips with WebGL. I also went through and tested some 4K video playback. I know we don't have a 4K screen here, but you could do HDMI out. And again, no issues whatsoever. So our current resolution is actually 1080, but we're streaming this at 4K 60. No drop frames at all. And I suspected this. I mean, these little Intel chips do really great with video playback. Just skip ahead a bit. And as you saw, even with skipping ahead, we didn't drop a single frame here. So yeah, this little chip is definitely trucking. For everyday use, this is going to be a great little laptop. You want to pick one of these up for work or school. If you want to check your email, do some schoolwork, some Word document editing, even image editing would be great on this. Now, I wouldn't pick this up if you're a professional video editor, but you could get by doing some nice 1080p videos with this using something like OpenShot. It'll work just fine. Okay, so using this laptop for everyday work and school use is going to work out just fine. We have a decent amount of RAM. We can upgrade that. 250 gigabytes of storage is on the lower side, but it's higher than a lot of the cheaper laptops. Plus, you can always upgrade this. But I wanted to see how this little laptop performs when we're done with work and school, and we want to play some games. So let's go ahead and move over. I got about 5 or 6 games to test here. First up, we have the original Skyrim. Now, every time I test this game with built-in Intel graphics, I don't get sound out of HDMI. Now, the sound on the laptop is working, but it's just not working out of HDMI, and I've had this issue on tons of different devices. But I'm set to medium, 720p. We're getting a constant 60 here, so Skyrim is good to go on a setup like this. Next up, we have Rocket League, 720p, low settings, and I'm getting an average of around 58 FPS. You'll see it jump up to around 78 every once in a while, but my average by the end was around 58. It's not too bad, and in my opinion, this is playable. So taking it up a notch to GTA 5, 720p, normal settings, and I've locked the frame rate at 30 FPS. If I don't lock this, it definitely overstresses that CPU and GPU and goes below 30. But if you have it locked, you can get a constant 30 out of this game. And normal settings for GTA is pretty much low settings. But it's still pretty awesome to see this game running on a $300 laptop like this. And since Halo 3 was recently released for PC, I figured I'd go ahead and test it here. We're at the original setting, so I'm going to call this low, 720p, and the frame rate is all over the place with this one. I couldn't find a setting to lock this at 30, but I'm pretty sure we could do a constant 30 with this at 720p. But if we take a look at the FPS, I mean, you'll even see it jump up to around 62 every once in a while. But even though this frame rate is all over the place, it did feel really playable. Next up, we have Minecraft Dungeons, 720p, low settings. I was able to lock the frame rate at 30 from the settings, and I didn't see it dip below 30. This game is fully playable at 30 FPS. I personally wouldn't notice a difference between 30 and 60 on a game like this. And the final question I had about this laptop was, will it run Crysis? And actually, it does a pretty decent job. 720p, low settings. Here's some gameplay.
Maximum speed. Maximum armor. Maximum speed.
The LZ is overrun. Psycho and I are moving to the signal.
So overall, I personally think that this is a great little laptop, especially if you can pick it up for that $299 price tag, or even $199 like we saw at BrickSeek and stores. It's definitely worth it. 15.6-inch screen, 256 gigabytes of storage, 8 gigs of RAM, and performance on this little i3 is way better than I thought it would be. So if you're in the market for an inexpensive laptop, this is definitely one to think about. Now I know my regular viewers are really interested in emulation, and this thing actually does a really good job, but this video's already turned out to be long enough, so I'm going to do a dedicated emulation video, so keep an eye on the channel. We'll test out everything from Dreamcast all the way up to Wii U. I don't think we're going to do Wii U too well, but I know this thing does Dolphin really, really great, even upscaled. But that's it for this video. I really appreciate you watching. I will leave a few links in the description if you're interested in checking this thing out. And like always, thanks for watching.